Hi there, this is Clarence from Compass. Since the shelter-in-place order, the county has taken a lot of responsibility in terms of health and safety throughout the Silicon Valley. Uh, Still, the cities have a big role in terms of being able to facilitate, to help our community. And I was lucky enough to be able to get hold of Mason Fong. He is the council member of the second largest, one of the council members in the second largest city here in Silicon Valley. Mason, I'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi everyone. I'm Mason Fong. I'm a city council member in the city of Sunnyvale, and I was elected 2 years ago in 2018.
Okay. And since beginning of this year, what was the priorities of the council going into it?
Yeah, so I mean, like many cities, we were looking at the economic forecast, seeing the market trend down, slowing down a little bit, but we were projecting revenue projections of having positive income basically in our general funds and figuring out how to spend that and spend it over the next 10 years and 20 years. Sunnyvale is actually a very unique city because in our city charter, we're actually required to budget for 10 years, which is actually a powerful tool. And our council actually has our own internal policy to forecast for 20 years. That way we get the entire picture. So for example, if we are relying on state funds and those expire in 5 years, that way we are moving around money in the current year so that we can accommodate for that loss of money in 5 years. This is a very unique tool that Sunnyvale has, and a lot of other cities only budget for 2 years for operating costs and 2 years for capital project costs.
Mhm. In terms of services the city is offering for that you were hoping to do this year, what was there anything in that you were trying to help shape for the road down the road for things down the road?
Yeah, so Sunnyvale actually has its budget workshop tomorrow, and we're going to have to make a lot of hard decisions on where to cut and how to cut. And so basically what we're looking at is we have about 60 million or so in reserves, which we've produced over time, which is actually really good for a city. And so that's our rainy day fund, but we don't want to use it all in the next 2 years. And that's the challenge that every city has is they have to figure out, okay, how much of our reserves do we want to use in the near term? And how are we going to adjust service levels and costs for our employment in providing, public safety, fire prevention, crime investigation, tree trimming services, things like that, or everyday municipal services. So we're really looking at maybe a $30 million usage of our reserves over the next 10 years, so an average of 3 million, and having to make adjustments in other spots. Really what it comes down to is we're trying to preserve all of our employees, ensuring that there's no layoffs and there's no amendments to our current public service contracts, so that we can ensure that our employees are taken care of and that our citizens can still get the services they need. This is a very unique privilege that we have. A lot of other cities are making difficult decisions where they are using layoffs and are using furloughs. Fortunate in Sunnyvale, we've been able to do the finances correctly so that we can have that rainy day fund.
Okay. And shelter in place, in order to slow down the spread of COVID-19 around Santa Clara County, I imagine things have shifted quite a bit in terms of what things we need to address right now. What is Sunnyvale doing right now to has there basically have you guys shifted your priorities to be able to address some of the issues going on?
Yeah, so we've shifted it all to looking at our finances as making cuts as possible. So we, like I said, we were looking at revenue projections of having positive income and being able to spend that money on new study policies. How most cities work is every year they have a council prioritization process where anything that's not normal business, we can see if the council wants to prioritize that and study that. It can range from anything from looking at a dark sky ordinance to change the way our lighting system works for our utilities at night to prevent preserve our environment and the ecosystems that live here, or looking at anything like off-leash dog hours, or building a cricket stadium in Sunnyvale. And so right now, the city manager has proposed that we hold off on the priorities that we set this year. And one of the big capital projects that was of interest to our community was a cricket field or cricket stadium, which we would have to dedicate $200,000 or so one-time full-time planning staff to, and have the community come up with the capital costs to produce that. But those are things that really have become on the back burner because we're trying to make sure that we stay afloat and that we can keep our current service levels at what they are.
Okay, and with COVID-19 going around, what have you seen being the biggest concerns with the community and your constituents around Sunnyvale?
Yeah, so a lot of the community, they're worried. It's the uncertainty of the future. No one really knows. No one has a perfect snow globe or magic 8 ball. But what we're looking at is a lot of our residents have been really great. They've taken the executive orders really seriously. They know that it's for the best of the community. But you see frustration. Our playgrounds are tapered off, our basketball courts, our tennis courts, all these community spaces, our senior center, our library, and this can be frustrating for a lot of residents and their quality of life. But overall, you've seen the community come together. A lot of people understanding when they're in the Safeway or the local retail location that's still open to abide by those guidelines. And you've seen a lot of nonprofits step up to the plate to provide services that are needed. Our school districts have been able to provide meals to students that are in need. Our nonprofits, assisting in housing services and relocation and things like that.
Okay, and housing is a big issue. Being a realtor, servicing families here in the area. What has the city have done to be able to help with landlords and tenants during this unique time?
Yeah, so two things we've done is we've implemented our own version of the county and state's orders on rent protections in terms of any tenant who is impacted by COVID-19 negatively and cannot meet their rent needs for that month. So we've just basically implemented what the county has done in terms of preventing an eviction, implementing an eviction moratorium, but still requiring that those funds be paid at a later date decided by the county. Similar to, we have a little bit of a different timeline, but it's only a couple of days different. But basically, if you're a tenant and you're unable to meet your rental income, you can provide it at a later date at the cumulative amount. And for landlords, we've made sure that they can still accrue that later because they have mortgages to pay and things like that. The other thing that we've done is we've actually committed $3 million to committed and helped to fundraise a cumulative $3 million for nonprofits providing housing and meal services, and also small businesses who need grants. About half of that is for small businesses, and we had great Sunnyvale companies like Google, LinkedIn, Intuitive Foundation, and others to step up to the plate donating money, and the city has also matched that money. The other one is our Sunnyvale Cares program, which is basically we've provided $150,000 in nonprofit grants, $690,000 in CDBG Community Development Block Grant federal funds to nonprofits providing those vital COVID-19 economic stimulus services. And also, we've provided $250,000 to our local Sunnyvale Community Services, which provides a lot of those homeless assistance services, meals, housing location, casework, things like that. So we've been very fortunate to do that $3 million. It's a Band-Aid on a huge wound, but we're trying to patch it as best we can and do what our part as a city to help that.
Okay, and I was about to ask you about small businesses and business in general in Sunnyvale. What are the challenges you're seeing right now with the businesses in the area? I know that this the time of this interview, this coming Friday, we're going enter phase 2. Generally, where are you hearing from the business community?
Yeah, so I went to a lot of businesses right before this. I kind of saw the writing on the wall and asked, are you preparing for this? There's a possible closure coming, and a lot of them didn't know. And so I haven't been fortunate enough to be in contact with them directly, but through our economic development director at our city, I've asked a lot of questions. I was actually the council member who proposed that the city look at a small business assistance program. So I actually made the motion to place it on the agenda and make it a priority. And thankfully to my colleagues, we were able to prioritize that and get that $3 million through. And so a lot of it comes down to businesses, already before this, they were on a slim margin, due to rent costs, due to employee costs, things like that, and cost of doing business. So they don't have the reserves to make it even 2 weeks or 4 weeks. And so many of them have probably already closed or taken out a loan from the SBA or things like that, to preserve their business, and laid off a lot of employees with it and a lot of working families. And so really, I'm happy to see phase 2 move forward. I'm thankful to the governor and our county leaders, our supervisors. But I'm hoping that, only time will tell to see how fast we can move with phase 3 and phase 4 of our county order to open up more businesses and get things back to normal. But a lot of the community has stepped up. They understand that businesses, especially restaurants, are on these slim margins, and they're purchasing out, eating out, which costs them more on a per average basis. But they know the importance of supporting our local businesses who have been here for years.
Okay. Oh, great. Now, is there anything else you'd like to mention that would be helpful to the folks out there about what's going on in Sunnyvale or cities just like Sunnyvale here in Silicon Valley?
Yeah, I'd say just reach out to your mayor and city council to make sure that if you don't have enough information, that you're informed. Especially if you're a business or nonprofit, there's a lot of funds out there to help you. And a lot of cities have these economic stimulus packages like Sunnyvale to have a small business assistance program where we provide you a grant. It's not the money that you need, but it does help. Every little bit helps, and I just hope that everyone can come together, support our local businesses, volunteer where you can and where you feel comfortable when you can. Obviously, to take care, wash your hands, keep a safe distance, keep in contact with family. Those are the big things, and know that your city councils are working hard for you. I can confidently say that about every city. We have this in mind. We know it's a dire crisis. We're making hard decisions in the budget process. Pretty much every city is going through their budget process as we speak. So now's the time to make sure that your priorities are heard. Contact your mayor and city council.
And speak about contacting mayors and city council. What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so hopefully you can put it on the screen here or there, but it's Fong, Fong, council at sunnyvale.ca.gov. And Clarence can help share that, but any resident or person looking to do business in Sunnyvale, please feel free to inquire with me any questions you have, especially during these times.
Yeah, and I'll be including your contact information, best way to get a hold of you, on the description on here. And so thanks, Mason, for willing to come out and virtually and be able to talk a little bit about what's going on in Sunnyvale. I think it's very helpful to know what one of our many cities here in Silicon Valley is doing to help the community move forward during this unique, challenging times.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you, Clarence, for being able to spread the word and provide services to your audiences. Really hoping that this helps some people in some way.
Yeah, thank you. Right, and I hope to talk to you soon.
All right. Talk to you later.